Okay, which means that she's now letting people in. Yeah, they're all coming in now. Cool. So, Sat, what have you been watching on telly in your lockdown?
What have I been watching? Do you know what? It's a mixture of. It's mostly scripted and not live. It's really bad.
Anything to recommend?
We started watching Schitt's Creek, which I quite found really funny. I've rewatched the whole of Pose, which I love. No one else does, but I love it so much. What else have we watched? We're rewatching 6 Feet Under from way back.
Bradley, you been watching anything good?
Yeah, well, alongside working, because luckily I was still able to work during the lockdown period, I literally cleaned up on I May Destroy You by Michaela Cole, which I thought incredible, which was absolutely incredible. And started rewatching Heroes.
Oh yes,
which was Person and Six, yeah.
On the banner, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's on the banner of the BBC, and you just sort of, it shows how sort of like almost like how we actually can't make a single decision. Oh, there it is, right there, plastered across the BBC icon. So I'll just watch that.
Yeah, that was extraordinary though, because at that time it was like one of the first shows that you could actually really follow week on week, like what we do now with Netflix and Amazon and stuff like that. So it was great to watch it and kind of see how far we've come, and seeing it in a different lens now that I work in TV. So I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, wow, this is quite self-indulgent, but it's great TV.
Oh, good. What did you think about the ending of I May Destroy You?
Oh, well, you have to be no spoilers here.
Oh yeah, no spoiler. You have to put a banner at the bottom saying no spoilers.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. Confused me at the beginning, before at the end.
Yeah. No.
And then right. That episode, once I got it, I quite enjoyed it. And I know, like I won't say it's like a Cumberbatch moment, and that it's resolved. Felt like in respects to like her story, her journey, that's the best resolution for her. So I thought that was kind of just as well, and also all the different kind of iterations she would find that resolution, and it was for. Actually, I don't want to say too much in case of anyone.
I was just going to say we're going to.
Yeah, kind of spoil it, but I thought it was quite well done. So you seem to got different.
Well, look, I think we're going to start, and welcome to all of you watching. It's lovely to see you all. My name's Josie, and I am one of the founders of Creative Access. I may hopefully have seen you before at some of our masterclasses. We've had some brilliant ones during lockdown, and what's been really special about our lockdown masterclasses is that each one of them has been hosted by one of our completely brilliant alumni, and as of course we have today, no exception there, and we have the brilliant Bradley with us. And Bradley was our very first intern that we ever played at the BBC, back in BBC Comedy, maybe, I don't know, 6-7 years ago or something. You'll know that.
Yeah, it was 2014.
Exactly, so a long time ago, and we've subsequently placed about 120 odd people at the BBC, but you were definitely the first. And so we're really very excited to have you here, Bradley. It's always good to see you. And also one of our other very long time supporters, Sat. I think this is probably your third or fourth masterclass that you've taken part in. Definitely your third, maybe even more than that. So Creative Access is based in real times when we're not working from home. We're actually based at ITV, which is amazing for us. And we have a very lovely special relationship with ITV. And within that, we have the brilliant Sat, who is one of the commissioners for Factual Entertainment and is a long-time advisor to us. So we're really thrilled to have both of you here. Now, everyone, if you go along the bottom of the screen, you'll all know this by now, but if you do want to ask any questions, then we'll be keeping an eye out for them. And we'll probably get to questions in about half an hour or so. So we'll have a chat first with Bradley and Sat, and then we'll move on to questions. And I know some of you have already submitted questions in advance, and that's great. If you can follow us on social media, we're on @_Creative Access. Just tag us and we'll be retweeting and Insta storying, etc. about today. So if you want to say who you are and where you're from, feel free to do so in the chat function. And otherwise, I'm going to pass over now to Bradley first. So Bradley, hello and welcome.
Hello.
I gave you a very quick introduction, but didn't do you justice. So would you just like to tell us 2 minutes? Did you want to ask me a question, Sat? You all right, Sat?
Yeah, sorry, is the screen, do we stay at the top, or I can't work out how the screen is.
Okay.
Is our video broadcasting to everyone?
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. All you do is you go to the top right-hand side. It says speaker view. So if you click on speaker view, can you see?
Oh my God. This is so embarrassing. No, you are viewing Monica's Thacker's screen. That's what I've got.
Okay, so if you go to Monica, I might need your help here to come back on, but if you go to the top right hand corner, it says speaker view. If you click on that, what happens if you click on that?
Oh, don't worry. I mean, look, I don't mind. I'll just go back to the way it was before. Don't you worry. We'll just work it out.
Okay, well, I'll get Monica to send you some instructions via the chat while Bradley is doing his introduction. Okay, so back onto you, Bradley. Although you seem to have disappeared. Are you there, Bradley? Can you see Bradley?
No, I can't see Bradley. I can see us at the top.
Okay, so look, we've lost Bradley. We're doing very well here. So while Bradley is coming back, he was so proud of himself to find a good Wi-Fi spot. So I'm going to kick off, Sat, and ask you to please tell me a little bit about yourself, just to give us an introduction to who you are, and then we'll start asking you proper questions.
Sure. So I'm Sat. I am a commissioning editor in the factual entertainment department at ITV. So I am responsible for commissioning non-scripted shows and generally not the big entertainment stuff. I commission across the main channel. I commission things like Heathrow. I did a show called What Would Your Kid Do ages ago, a prison doc last year, right the way through our digital portfolio. So ITV2, I look after things like Ibiza Weekender, Dress to Impress. ITVB, I've got some shows on there. I'm doing the thing called Totally Unbelievable at the moment. ITV3, we don't actually commission for anymore. And then ITV4, I look after loads of fishing shows, motorbike shows on there as well. So quite a big sort of gamut of shows that I look after at ITV. And I've been there now, 5 years? So it's been a long time.
Fantastic. Who knew that there were so many people watching fishing shows?
I mean, so many.
And I'm sure they'd be pretty popular in lockdown too. Yeah. Okay, so Sat, let's rewind it back to the beginning. You grew up in London, is that right?
No, I grew up outside of London. I grew up outside near Reading. I mean, really quite sort of generic suburban, out of London town in Berkshire. So I grew up there.
How did you always like watching telly, or at which point did you think, you know what, I'm quite interested in this?
Oh God, I mean, it's that's a question that I almost hate the absolute most, because I didn't really realise I was going to work. I like being a lazy and sitting on the sofa and just watching endless amounts of TV. Yes, I never actually thought about working in television because obviously a good Indian boy has aspirations of being a doctor, as per my parents' like dreams. And then when I didn't actually get into university to do medicine, I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do? Went to university, just did a science degree because that's what my A-levels were in. And then moved to London and sort of followed the herd and thought, I'll figure it out when I get there. And that's when I sort of was like, oh God, I can't work in a shop for the rest of my life, because that's what I was doing. And the friend said, oh, do you want to go and try and do some work experience at this TV production company? I think you'd be quite good. So I went there and I thought, oh my God, this is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. I just used to like run to work. The thought of making my boss a cup of coffee was just like too much for me to cope with, or perhaps just having to drop around a tape to a celebrity's house or a script to someone's house. I'd be like, this is the best job I've ever had in my entire life. So did that for a while, and I thought, oh God, I really hope they keep me on. And luckily they kept me on, and then I was in TV, wasn't I? So that was the end of that, and I just carried on plugging away, working my way up, had lots of bumps and knocks along the way, and then finally found myself up here at ITV as a commissioning editor, which has really been brilliant.
Well, you make it sound extremely easy, and we know that it's not that easy. If only it was that easy, and if only people were lucky to be in the right place at the right time. But you know what? I think that things have changed over that time, and there are some good entry schemes. But
Yeah.
If
I don't
you,
think it's easy, honestly. Oh, sorry, I say it now like it's sort of like it was an easy thing. It isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. I suppose I can now look back on it in rose-tinted glasses. I still think that my most favourite job ever was when I was a runner, literally when I first started, because it was just so, nothing thrills you as much because it's all so brand new and so exciting. But, you know, it was difficult because, you know, I wasn't part of any of the networks of all the people that were already in the building. I wasn't part of the sort of elite grad trainee scheme guys who were all sort of like coming from Oxford and Cambridge and all sort of like had, you know, mummy and daddy living with their houses in Fulham type scenario either. So, you know, I was, you know, really quite out of my depth in a number of ways. But I suppose what I did know is that I really liked doing what I was doing, and I sort of like had a good work ethic, and I sort of, you know, got my head down and really worked hard. But there's also been points where, as a freelancer as well, where, you know, I was out of work for months at a time, and I was like, oh fuck, this is all going to end, and I have no way of understanding how to break the sort of into where the sort of where you almost like the networks that you think, oh my god, well they all sort of seem to do so well. What's wrong with me? So I think, you know, now I can sort of look back, and I've got the luxury of being in a position that I am in, which also, by the way, came from doing a development scheme which all the channels did. They were looking for someone to accelerate into and give experience to being a commissioner to someone who probably ordinarily wasn't ready or wouldn't have got the opportunity. And I was just lucky enough that they kept me on afterwards. So I look back on it now with quite a lot of sort of, I can look about it with joy, but, you know, no, God, I totally, it was the points when like I almost left television 2-3 times because I didn't have work or was out of work or couldn't, you know, so I think it is a tough thing. But also I guess the point of looking back on it is also to sort of know it can be so much fun and so rewarding and so brilliant. So I don't want anyone to feel discouraged ever.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I think it's really interesting to talk about the freelance first lifestyle a bit as well, because I know that, Bradley, that's certainly something that you have as well as a staff job. But I'm going to come out, and Bradley, we just covered all that's happened so far in your absence is that Sat has just spoken about how he started in TV.
Okay.
So if you could give us the same précis view, and then I'll pass over to you. But in case you cut out, I'm here, but I'm just going to turn my camera off. So if you give us a quick update on yourself and where you are and how you got into life, to tell it in life and TV. Yeah. Great. Okay, I'll see you soon.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry about that, by the way, guys. Technical difficulties as per usual with Zoom. But my journey kind of started pre-university, because when I was growing up, a teenager, I kind of got involved in the theatre. And I did a lot of acting and performing within the theatre, and I was able to kind of travel, go to Edinburgh Festival and stuff like that. I also wanted to study as well. So I went off to uni and I studied business and management, which is quite far away from what I kind of intended to do. But I kind of wanted to broaden my horizons and kind of just have the opportunity to study because it was there. And having a background of a Ghanaian parent, they're always about education, studying, having a backup plan. But my parents always were like, if you're going to do something, do it properly. So I said, okay, cool, I'm going to go study and then come out of that. So when I came out, I tried to focus on the acting and performing, but kind of got disillusioned when I kind of realized the type of roles that I was going for and kind of like the landscape of the industry as a whole. So instead of like just being a part of it and being a bit part towards the end and being in the show, say, I kind of said, I want to be at those tables. I want to be in those rooms talking and trying to put through my views of how I feel like the industry should be. So I looked in towards becoming a producer. And at the time, Creative Access was just starting up, and I went to one of their first talk at Channel 4, actually, in my last year of uni. Had no idea kind of like how TV worked, the different roles in TV. But then they put up, once I graduated, they put up a role in BBC Comedy, and literally off just a hunch, I didn't have no experience in TV. I applied and kind of like just put all my experience that I've had within acting and performing and kind of like stuff that I've done within theatre, and just kind of sold myself as this person who I am, but sold myself in that I was capable of fulfilling the role. And it was an office runner, so it's kind of, it is a runner, kind of doing that day-to-day office stuff, print it in, helping execs and producers kind of do more admin roles. And I was lucky enough to get the role, and I was there for a year and a half before my opportunity in Gogglebox arose as a junior researcher in casting, and that was in 2015. And I applied for that, and I got it, and then since then I just kind of worked my way up the ranks within Gogglebox, and obviously doing some other shows as well. I was able to end up where I am as a senior producer on Gogglebox. So yeah, that's me.
So there's a question actually that's come up on here from Carmela about how much work experience did you have to do before getting a good role in TV? I wonder if, why don't you answer that first, Bradley? I mean, how much work experience did you do? Obviously, you've had a different sort of entry into TV, but did you do a bit of work experience? What did you do, and how much did you do?
My first actual role was through Creative Access as a PMA, production management system, which is like an office runner. So I didn't really start to go to the traditional route of becoming a runner on shows or on films or whatnot, or having to study it or having placements like that. But that was my first role, so it's kind of difficult for me to talk on like all the experience. Yeah. But through that, I kind of had to carve my own experiences within BBC, because literally, if you kind of just stayed put and done your role, you literally just go there 9 to 5, print out a few things, talk to a few producers, ask if they needed help, and that's it. But I kind of forced my way to go on to production. So there was, because it's literally, it was the hub for all comedy production within the BBC. There were so many different shows going on, whether it's radio or TV. I would basically speak to the producers or execs and say, let me go out on location, let me do this on the, like within the production, and get my experience through that. And that's only down to me kind of putting myself to the forefront and telling them that's what I needed to do. But
yeah, I think that's probably exactly right, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
To answer Carmela's question directly, I mean, I was fortunate. I was work experience for 4 weeks there. Back in the day, you could actually keep people for that long without paying them. So I used to get a tube card paid for every week, which was actually £3 stayed on my friend's couch, literally, and did that. And I remember my work experience was coming to the end. I thought, shit, I've got to get a job out of this. And I don't know how to do it, and I don't know what's going to happen. And there weren't any runners' jobs at that moment. So I just carried on coming in. So I just the following week, I just carried on coming in and just carried on doing the things I was doing as work experience. And then literally, lo and behold, literally that week, they suddenly needed a runner, and I was there. So I just sometimes it's just like, just keep on going in until they do. But I know that the world works differently. I think the thing is what Bradley, I think you were saying is really important. It's about actually, and it's something that I think BAME people do generally have a slightly, don't have as much confidence. You've got to get yourself stuck in. Do you know what I mean? Really got to like make yourself noticed. And I think it comes from a sort of a mindset that perhaps is that we don't want to rock the boat and we want to just like fit in and everything. But actually that's doing ourselves a disservice, because there's so much that we have to offer. And I think what we need to be doing is actually highlighting that by like getting stuck in, giving ideas, opinions, finding out who needs stuff, finding out, you know, which stuff is, what's going on and where, and trying to get involved a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I totally resonate with that, because first things, as I was going, like starting out in TV, it's one of those environments that I literally had no experience in those rooms. And I was the only person that was black in those rooms. So I was already kind of having that internal battle of like, oh gosh, they're not really going to understand me, or are they really going to take me serious? And I'm always second guessing every time I speak. But then you kind of got to just throw away your pride in that. So when you do second guess, you just kind of got to just overcome that and just go for it, because shame and pride will keep you back.
I mean, I remember when I started at the company that I was
just being persistent.
Yeah, the company that I started, I was the only Indian person who was Indian or within that company, and there was one other guy who was black there. And he was on the grad training because he was really smart and he'd gone to Oxford. And of course, I'm not that smart, so I didn't get onto that. So he'd got the Oxford thing that got him in. He's brilliant. He's still one of my really good friends. So it's really intimidating at those moments. I mean, and that's a sort of like, you sort of constantly walk around with imposter syndrome. I think, you know, Anja Jain, who's one of my great mentors who hired me at ITV, always talks about that imposter syndrome. And I think we all have it, but it's something you should just, in a way, it's something that actually can help fuel you and go, you know, this is also, it's also good to question and second guess yourself to a certain extent, because it keeps you grounded. It stops you becoming sometimes, you know, too arrogant in a way, but it's also not helpful when it sort of hampers you. So a little bit of self-questioning is good, but you've got to get out there and do, right?
Yeah, but so, actually, can you speak on that? That did you, when you first started out, was there a lot of that within you, and how long did it take for you to have you even overcome it?
Yeah, no, God, I still haven't overcome it. God, never. Yeah, totally. I mean, look, I went, you know, I grew up in a very sort of like sheltered, sort of like traditional Indian family. I was going to try and be a doctor, of course, and then you know, go off to university, and suddenly I'm like out of the, you know, care of my parents. I'm like, fucking hell, look at this world. There's everything's out there. I can go get drunk. I don't have to go to lectures. I don't have to study. I can, like, you know, do whatever I want. You know, and it was all just like, oh my God, this is just like the whole world is out there. And so you sort of like, you know, you're sort of trying to find out who you are really in that context. I think you're always trying to find out who you are. And when you walk into all these environments, you're always constantly going, well, who am I in this world? And sometimes I think we do that as BAME people more than, I suppose, the self-assured, necessarily sort of like white middle class, without sort of saying, I'm sure there's also people feel that way as well. But, you know, I guess it comes down to that slight privilege idea, isn't it? You know who you are when you walk into a room. And actually for us, it's quite, sometimes it can be a bit like that. And even now, you know, I've been commissioning for 5 years. I'm still like, God, should I really be doing that? Am I really qualified to say that to, you know, this exec producer when they're pitching an idea to me? And I think, fuck, have I, you know, I walk away and go, have I just like literally pissed off Stephen Lambert by rejecting his ideas? Not that he's ever pitched to me, actually, but I'm giving an example. Or like, you know,
never say never, never say never.
Yeah. So, you know, you think, God, these are people, and you like, well, you know, these are big, powerful company indies that are coming to pitch to me. And I'm going, oh my God, am I a total fool? These people make hit shows for everyone else. And I've just gone, no, not for us, thanks. You know, and you sort of, you do, it takes a lot to be able to think, well, am I doing the right thing? And it will never stop. But I think it's about recognizing where it's actually useful for you and where it's actually destructive. And I think, you know, that's the balance you have to find. Yeah,
because ultimately in TV, it's all opinion based. And you have a remit, and we can obviously convolute it and just blow it up and make it seem like it's rocket science. But ultimately, we're making TV, entertaining people, educating people. And
yeah,
all opinion based.
Well, it's exactly.
It's all subjective. So our opinions do count. Our place does count. So.
And yeah, like I always say, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one, haven't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're absolutely 100% correct. You know, I think, you know, it's also subjective. I think there are sort of like, you know, when you work at, you know, a broadcaster or you work at a production company, there is a sort of a tone or a parameter of what you feel like does it fit within your scope or your brand. So for example, you know, there's some things in ITV has its brand, and, you know, we have to, I might think I love something, but I actually know it doesn't fit for our brand. So I've got to say no. Do you know what I mean? And that something, it's quite obvious to make that decision, and it doesn't really take, you know, but I think, but you're right. It is about having a voice, and, you know, and especially in creative industries, I think, you know, we're all gunning for the same thing. We want to make the most creative programs, and we want to make the best programs that really serve our channels or production companies or whatever. And a diversity of voice and thought can really help. And it's been proven time and time again, it really drives creativity within companies. So it's always a good thing.
Would you say that within, so obviously you're the commissioner, are you open to having all these different voices, regardless of their role? So if it was a runner who's got a voice or an opinion or something that you're possibly working on, you want them to approach you and give them your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing is, look, when I say it constantly to all the sort of people that come to pitch to me, I say, bring your whole team. I don't want to just be talking to the top brass, because actually, you know, I want people to feel a connection with who they're pitching into, so it doesn't feel like a nameless, shapeless person. They'll work harder for you when they know you. And also, I think, you know, it's about sort of like, it is about hearing it from the horse's mouth and unfiltered from me. I think what is hard and where the line is difficult is like, you know, also when we say to say no, or when we, you know, the hard part of our job is we have to say no a lot. And, you know, if we say no, we're not saying it just because someone is junior, or because someone is, you know, we haven't got the time, or it's not come from, say, for example, Stephen Latwer or a big company. We're actually saying it no because actually we have got experience in the area to be able to say, actually, that's not going to work for us because of X, Y, Z. So I think what has to be careful is I want to hear from everyone, and I want people to get involved, and I want their opinions to come through. And, you know, quite well, so many times people will come and say things, I'm like, oh my God, that's how we crack this idea, or that's the twist we need. Brilliant, yes. But there are also times when I'm going to go, nah, that's not going to work for us. And that's not a slight on anybody's or that I don't, because they're junior. It's because actually I don't think it's going to work. And I guess that's my job, to be able to sift between the stuff that I think is going to work and the things that I don't think are going to work. Ultimately, like you said, it's an opinion, and I could be wrong, but at this junction, I'm the one that has to make that distinction.
Mm-hmm. It actually leads me on to like a question that we kind of a few questions that we were sent. One, Jose Mugisha and Raquel Taylor kind of had similar questions in that they just asked, what's the best way to approach pitching a show idea to a company, or taking it from online to TV? And Raquel Taylor was on a similar ilk to that as well, saying, how should you contact to get your pitch treatment read or considered for a show? I'm not sure where what stage they are at in their careers, whether it is literally they're quite young and have an idea, or they're literally working alongside producers and whatnot.
So look, I think in order to pitch an idea, you have to do your research. And what I mean by that is what are the channels looking for? What is their brand identity? And why are you pitching that show to that channel? You know, so when you look at ITV, for example, our main channel, you know, what do you see on there? You see I'm a Celebrity, you see X Factor, well, not this year, but, you know, you see Love, well, no, that's ITV2. God, I'm just not doing a very good job. But look at what we've got on there. We've got, you know, Gordon, Gino and Fred, Breaking Dad, we've got Inside Britain's Prisons, we've got Heathrow, we've got Crime and Punishment stuff, we've got Paul O'Grady. So does your show feel like it fits in that landscape? You know, do you know what the channels are actually looking for, and how does your idea serve their needs as far as ideas go, and their audience and their demographic? So I think, you know, that's what you have to think about, because so many times I get pitched an idea and I go, did you watch the channel last night? That we had that on there. So what, you know, or did they pitch an idea and I said, how is that going to play, you know, after X Factor? You know what I mean? If that's what you're pitching, does it make sense? So you have to do your homework when it comes to these things. When it comes to pitching ideas, I think to production companies as well, if you want production companies to look at your ideas, it's how does your idea also feel like how does it feel like their production company is the best home for your idea? You know, if you are pitching an idea that's a medical idea that you think is brilliant, and you're taking it to, say, a production company that makes Britain's Got Talent, it's sort of like, well, why have you brought that idea? Do you not know we don't make that sort of show? You should take it to another company. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So I think those are the sort of things you have to think about. So being prepared and understanding the landscape and the people you are trying to sell something to, essentially, is really important. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to answer that.
Because I've known some people that obviously have great ideas, and I know that it might be a bit different when it comes to factory entertainment. In that, like, say with scripted, a lot of companies that take unsolicited scripts, they kind of want to go through an agent, and obviously that's to protect them and also the writer. But how does it work within factory entertainment in regards to people coming to you with ideas? You want them to have some sort of agent or have a producer ready to go to...
No, we're sort of open to an extent about, like, you know, we want to hear ideas from everyone. We don't get pitched enough ideas, full stop. Sorry, the sun's getting in my eye, so I either have to go really close or oh, no, I'll draw the curtain. Sorry. I think, you know, look, we're really open. We don't get enough ideas is the ultimate truth. So we are really open to people pitching their ideas. But I think it's a really tough, and you have to be really resilient when you pitch ideas, because you are going to get our unfiltered opinion about what we think about the idea. And I think it goes back to the fact that if you haven't done the research and you don't know what we're pitching, you might be pitching into essentially the void and not necessarily thinking about what our channel is. But look, I think we're always happy to take ideas. We do have a sort of an email that we can send all ideas to. It's factual.commissioning@itv.com. But, you know, I think if we like an idea, we will find a way of making it work. It doesn't have to come in from you know, an established production company or someone with loads of experience. We will find a way of making it work if we like it.
Speaking on that, actually, do you know, obviously now, I don't think we've actually mentioned the Rona and how it's kind of affected the TV world. Stopped it for 3 months, and now we're slowly creeping back into it. But how has it affected, like, you in regards to how you work? I know obviously at home, unless your office looks like that.
No.
But how
my office has got a bed in it. Can you imagine? I do no work.
Living your best life.
So look,
how has it affected you, and do you reckon it's going to change the way TV is going to be made forever, or do you reckon it's just going to be a blip in the landscape before we ever come in?
Look, I think, you know, Corona has been devastating for the entire world. And I think specifically for the TV industry, look, it's for, you know, it has really hurt the freelance community more than anything, I think. And I think as ITV, we are really acutely aware of that. You know, productions being stopped, freelancers not having the same protections, etc., etc. And I think that has really made us think about a lot of things. I think it's going to change our industry in a massive amount of ways. One, I think, you know, we're having to, you know, be even more creative about how we create content in this world. Two, it's shown a spotlight really on how our industry is organized and run as far as freelancers go, and what do we need to be doing to absolutely make sure that we are a place where people can thrive, even in a freelance sort of way. So I think those things are going to change. For me personally, I think it's shown that we can do our job still fairly effectively, I'd like to think, in this way. So how it changes the way ITV have offices or whatever, I don't know. But I don't think fortunately for commissioners, we haven't necessarily had our challenge has been to try and find content that we can make.
And how do you reckon? Well, what do you want to see now, actually? Because I'm pretty sure we're kind of past having Rona as the forefront of whatever show that we're doing. Because
I just want to be able to make shows like we used to be able to make them. You know what I mean? I want to be back out making them, filming them, not having to worry about masks, social distancing, etc. like that. That would be the ideal thing. But that requires a real sort of like getting a handle on the virus, making sure people are safe, because that's the number one priority, you know what I mean? That's what I'd really love. I think there are lots of creative ideas that are coming through that are, you know, taking advantage of things, the way that the bubbles work, coming up with new practices of like how we manage health and safety. So I think, you know, lots of stuff is going on. But it's a brave new world, you know. I think, you know, out of adversity comes opportunity, doesn't it? And I think, you know, it's not, you know, I think the personal and the personal cost on an individual basis for Corona has been horrendous, but I'm hoping that something good will come out of this that will, you know, could redefine what television is, which is always exciting.
Yeah, because it can be done, because when Corona came about, we was literally well, 3/4 of the way through Gogglebox, the normal series, and as you know, that's was one of the shows on TV that continued to go on, and it was literally full steam ahead. Like we had to change the way we shoot, because normally we would go into the houses and be around these people in an adjacent room and stuff. But that all had to stop. So we had to get a van, shoot in a van, rig stuff up, leave stuff in their house and all of that. And then obviously celebrity Gogglebots came, and by then we've gotten used to it and had to have the, you know, the correct PPE, the right precautions. And as a producer on it, a lot of it was on my shoulders to kind of like keep things running and smooth and make sure, obviously, with them, they're not used to filming in that way.
Yeah.
Having to combat that, as well as getting the content that we needed for the show was quite challenging, but it can be done. And you kind of, everyone's in it's so difficult. It's really bad to say this, but everyone, you know, it's a good thing that everyone's in the same situation. Everyone is going through this same thing. It sounds a bit mad because it's not a good situation, but we
understand.
It's easier to understand, so people know where they stand. And I think that helped a lot.
And you're all trying to do the same thing. Everybody wants to keep everyone safe. Everybody wants to make great content. So at least you're all on the same page and, you know, I guess shooting from the same angle, which I think is really important. And look, I think there are going to be some really interesting, you know, developments that do come out of this. I don't know 100% what they are and what will stick, but, you know, we should try and be always optimistic about what the future might hold, I suppose.
Yeah.
The irony is I'm quite a negative person. I'm quite pessimistic by nature, but somehow when I start talking about it, I try and be optimistic. It's a character I'm trying on.
The optimism.
Yeah.
Name for him. Do you have any kind of reservations as to like what this could all mean in regards to like budgets and the type of shows that you are able to commission?
I think, look,
being real, not too optimistic.
Yeah, I think, you know, as I'm sure it's quite obvious you know, at the moment there are huge challenges, including financial. I don't foresee it being always the case. And I think, you know, we will, in the short term, yes, there will be there are huge amounts of challenges, and financial being one of them, etc. But in the longer term, there's nothing that's going to mean that things won't go back to certain things won't return to as they were beforehand. I think things will be different, but I don't see why, you know, people are still going to want great content. People are still going to want to pay for great content. There are still going to be advertisers out there. So for us as a commercial broadcaster, the BBC, for example, you know, they are funded by the license fee. The license fee is still going to be paid. So I think, you know, things will return from that sense. And that is, you know, but I think what was exciting is how we will find new ways of making content that might actually stay and stick around. I think, yeah. I've got a question.
There's a question from Che Applewaith. Sent it before. It's like, what would you recommend to emerging documentary filmmakers interested in making work for TV?
Yeah, I mean, look, documentary has always been so important to television, and, you know, and ITV as well. It is, you know, documentary makers who tell us the stories that we as a nation need to be telling. So I think what I would suggest is, I don't really know much about what levels Che might be or what area and stuff like that. I think, you know, if you want to be working in television, is find really great companies that make documentaries for television that you think, oh my God, those are the documentaries I want to work on. Those are the ones type of things I want to work on. Those are the people I want to work with, and just literally slightly stalk them, because you know, it's like lovely flattering emails. Oh my God, saw your documentary last night, loved it so much, love all of your work. I'm a young documentary maker, I really love the chance to meet you, talk to you about working with you guys or something. So I think, you know, really sort of, and it takes impetus and it takes a little bit, you know, these doors need to be banged on, and they do need to be banged on repeatedly. And I think the best form of getting them open is a bit of gentle flattery, because no one can resist that. Everybody has egos that like to be massaged. So I would do that. But again, it's about research, isn't it? It's about really knowing why you're emailing that company and what you want out of them and what they might want to hear. So, you know, it's, you know, I remember I really wanted to work at Betty many years ago. They were such a brilliant company, and I loved the show that I loved the most out of their catalog was Britney's Redneck Roots, because I just loved that documentary that they made. So I did email them, said, I really love this documentary. It's so brilliant, blah, blah, blah. And when I went to finally got an interview, talked about that one, how much I loved it, talked about another thing that I really loved of theirs. And I think it's, you know, it's just showing that you're enthusiastic, passionate, and you know your shit, essentially.
Yeah, because that's what I say to people as well. And that's kind of when someone explained that to me, I was like, wow, that's such a simple thing to do. Looking at the credits at the end of a show that you love, at the producers, and emailing them, just saying how much you love it. Because no matter like what stage of the career you are, everyone's got a little bit of ego, and everyone likes to be flattered a little bit because they want to be told like what they're making is good. So mentioning what obviously you want to get a placement or some experience within that show or that company. If you mention that to them, they're going to know that you've been watching, that you're interested, and you know your stuff. And it's literally, and it takes an email. You don't have to send any letters anymore. No smoke signals, no pigeons or nothing like that. You just kind of send an email. And if you don't get back to you, and this is the thing that there was a question asked. Sorry, I forgot the name, but they were saying that why don't they, in most cases, they never hear back from people that they email.
Yeah.
My thing is, and it might be different from you, most of it always comes down to time and how busy you are within your production. So you might see it and you say, okay, when I get the time, I'm going to send an email back, and then you forget. And then that may come across different to them, saying that you might have been ignored, but it just might mean they just didn't have the time.
I mean, I think there's a number of reasons, you know, yes, that could be it.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes, you know, we have to face life, you know, sometimes people are just rude.
Straight up.
Sometimes people are just rude. And that might also be the case. But I think it's, you know, it's also maybe the email, you know, if they are getting 100 emails a day, people ask to work for them, what's going to stick out as well? I think what is more helpful is, rather than focusing on, say, for example, why people haven't got back to you or anything like that, you know, and worrying and lamenting, like, when are we going to hear back, or are they rude, or are they, it's thinking about how do I place myself into place myself in a place where people can't ignore me or can't not get back to me, and working out those sort of things. And it takes a few attempts, honestly. When I was out of work in the last financial crash, I didn't work in TV for 2 years. I was out of work properly like for a year, and I was just doing odd jobs around wherever, not even in TV, to make ends meet. And I was every day like emailing shitloads of people, and no one got back to me. And you know, there are people now who are execs, who are the executive producers on shows that I've commissioned, that ignored my email back in the day. So you know, it does go around, but I think it's about whether, you know, it's focusing your energy on how you make yourself, how you get people to notice you. You know what I mean? And that's tough, because, you know, look, we've got to be honest, and, you know, it is a competitive industry, and it is hard work, but it is worthwhile if you stick at it, and you know, you work hard, do your research. I mean, you know, Bradley, you must know as well. You have had to work bloody hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, always, because you've got that thing in the back of your mind that, or on your shoulders, that obviously I am black. There's not many people that look like me within this industry anyway, and it's the thing in the back of your mind saying, if I mess this up, I'm messing it up for the next one behind me. I've got to be 10 times. I have to be on point all the time, and I'm just, another voice in your head says, I need the opportunity to be mediocre sometimes. Not everything I'm going to do is going to be great, or I can't be on point all the time. You just got to allow that to kind of just rest on you. You can't be great all the time. And I feel like that's what we're kind of missing, or that's the message that needs to be kind of pushed forward more, that we are always striving for greatness, but it's okay to just take a break, take a rest, figure out kind of what you really want to do, and take the steps in order to do that. And whether that be persistent emails and obviously mentioning what you do and how great you are at that, whether that's the case. But I feel like we've just got to just be more kind on ourselves, and in that we can't expect too much from an industry that doesn't have a lot of us in it. So you've kind of got to do stuff yourself and be noticed off the back of what you do independently. Because a lot of the time, and as I'm working, I'm trying to work with people, I'm always curious about what else are they doing. About what have they done, what initiatives have they done to kind of bring their ideas open. And some of the advice that I give to people who are trying to, you say, get scripts made or shows done, I was like, do it yourself. Try and, you know, bring some people, look at your peers, instead of looking up, look across, look at your peers who are in the same position as you, and try and create it with the minimal. I know obviously time and the Rona is here and it kind of hampers everything, but there's ways of, it's time to be creative. And I feel like as a commissioner, someone that comes to you with something on paper compared to someone that comes with you that's in a form of video or something like that, or something creative, your ears are gonna prick up to the one that's where you see extra legwork has been put in rather than just traditional, you know, what's the word? Like a spec. Yeah.
I think, look, I definitely think that you're right, definitely. What I want to just caution though is what I don't want people to do is sort of run away and sort of start investing money, time and stuff like that quickly, because actually you've really got to be confident and with knowing that what you're doing is the right thing for, if you want to bring it, say, to ITV specifically. If you're doing something, you go, you know what, this is my passion project, I just want to make this. I don't give a crap, you know, whether it goes on YouTube or if it goes on a chat. I just want to make this because this is my vision. That I think absolutely you're right. You've got to wholeheartedly go for it without any sort of expectation. But what I'd caution against is going, right, I've got an idea for ITV, so therefore I'm going to invest loads of time, energy, money, and resource because I think this is going to work, and then I'm going to send it to them, because that is actually quite dangerous, because actually you might not fully understand what we're looking for, and I would hate that to happen. But I think if you genuinely, like, you know, look, I mean, so many people, you know, have taken, in their careers, have taken time out and gone, I just want to go and make a film about this, and they've just gone off. And my old flatmate, he went to India and made it off his own back, just made a film about the education of girls there, because he just really wanted to do it. You know what I mean? He said, I don't know where it's going to go, what it's going to be. I don't really care. I just want that experience of just having my own, trying to film something myself, the autonomy of it all. And he did it out of his own sort of love. So I think that is a different sort of approach, which is infinitely rewarding because it's a personal reward for yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't telling people just to, you know, go invest all their money and whatnot. But obviously with the research and the guidance and speaking out or trying to get the advice of kind of what to do, I'm just trying to think creatively of like ways to
I think so.
was pitched and whatnot. I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure you will take notice of something that's kind of done not traditionally. You have to give it a second glance rather than just, you know, to seeing it on paper. It's just easier to kind of actualize. But Josie here just asked us our career highlights and lows. I mean, I'm pretty sure yours, there's quite a few.
Loads of lows.
Yeah, plenty of lows.
Well, the highlight for me was my boss at ITV saying, oh, this is almost good enough to be nominated for a BAFTA. And I thought, oh, yes, almost. So that's probably what was a really big highlight. God, there have been so many, but they're also very different. It's not just about sort of like, oh, great, I got this. They range from, like, you know, it's so great when you get an idea commissioned from a company that's never made a show at ITV, and you think, yes, I'm so pleased I managed to get this. We worked together and got this commission for that company because it could change the fortune of that company. But also I'm really proud of some of the work that we've done on diversity. Like, you know, I've done, you know, I got a load of PDs, DV directors who needed help getting up to producer director level, and I managed to do that. That fills me with so much pride, more so, and those feel like more bigger highlights for me, because actually, you know, what are we leaving in this world? You know, I don't think anyone's going to remember me for, you know, Ibiza Weekender or anything like that, as much as I love that show, you know what I mean? And it is always a highlight of my year when I have to go in there to the first show to watch the edit. It's just so brilliant.
It was a guilty pleasure once upon a time. I think I stumbled across it, like, this was years ago, actually. I think it was the first series, actually. Yeah, it was the first series. And it was just up late, and it was just on TV, and I was just like, what?
Great.
And I kind of literally, it was an omnibus, and I just watched all of it. So well done, Sat, on that. Well done.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I didn't actually commission the original idea. I just took it over when I got to ITV.
Oh, okay. Take the glory, take all of it.
But, you know, so there's loads of things like that, which I think where I find generally my career highlights and where I feel most happy is when I feel like I've done something with a team, because it feels like we all sort of win together. There's no point in winning by yourself. It's really boring. You've got no one to all open with. You have to do it by yourself, and then you just get depressed. But you know, I like it when it's that. I think career lows have been, you know, I've had some lows when I've just not been able to get work, and I think that's really depressing when you really love doing what you do. I think, you know, at points, you know, in my career, I felt quite, you know, bullied in jobs, and that's really depressing to think that you as a person is not enough. I also, you know, have had people say to me, oh God, I would never call you on your CV because I don't know how to pronounce your name. And I thought, fucking hell, God, it's
Trident.
Do you know what I mean? You know, I think there's been lots of those, but I think, you know, I think this is also, some things are not acceptable and are going to change as well. But, you know, life is ups and downs. And I think, you know, you don't get the high without the low, right?
That's right. And I think one of my lows as well, coming up to the end of a contract, and if you haven't sorted out your next contract, because literally that's what all TV is all about. As a freelancer, it's job to job to job, and it's great when you on a long-term contract. I've been blessed in that I'm working on a show like Cumberbatch, which is half the year block, so you have that time. But sometimes you are in a contract for 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and whatnot, and then you're coming up to the end, and you have no idea what you're going to be doing next. So it's not really a career low. It's continuous. But that pushes you to keep going, to be fair, because you know your life depends on it, finding that next contract. So that is kind of demoralizing at times, but it's also quite exciting because you're in control of your destiny. I know that sounds really cliche, but you're kind of in control of what you want to do next. And whether you just do it for the money or you do it because it's a passion, it's up to you to make that decision, which I love about TV, instead of staying in a job where you kind of like, you know, you're set for a good few years.
Yeah, it's a really privileged, it's a real privilege to work in television. You know, we get to do things that, you know, are meaningful sometimes. We get to do things that entertain the nation, and, you know, we get to also indulge a very, you know, our own sort of passions as well at times. And it's really, when it works, it's really brilliant, you know.
Yeah, and it's one of those industries where you see the payoff quite soon. Whether it's you might take a few months, but you always see the payoff on TV, and you can say I was a part of that, which is always quite great. It all comes together, no matter how grueling that whole process was, how stressed, grey hairs you got, bald patches and whatnot. You watch the show and you're able to say I was part of that, which is great.
Some shows that I worked on, I think, oh my God, please don't put my credit on there because it's so bad and so embarrassing.
We have to tell people that. Wrong and strong. That's my philosophy.
Sometimes happens. I won't tell you which shows I thought that of, though. Yeah.
Someone, Tanya Red. Oh, I think that question just disappeared, actually.
Oh, Tanya Reid. Is it down here?
Tanya Reid. It was a question in regards to putting your ethnicity on your CV.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, really interesting question. Okay, look, so I think, oh God, what would you say? I mean, I always refer to myself as a gold star BAME. I mean, with my name, you can see you're not going to get someone that's white. So I'm, you know, from that perspective, that works. I mean, Bradley Cumberbatch. I mean, I could think like, are you Benedict's close relative, or, you know, with that surname? So you don't know, actually, you know. But I think it's quite an interesting question, and especially pertinent now, especially when with everybody's renewed and rightly so focused on diversity and inclusion across business. You know, we are in a situation where people want to absolutely make a difference with their representation, which is a great thing. And, you know, I don't know the answer. I'm going to be really...
It is tricky because it's also similar to putting your picture on a CV as well. Because I feel like when you do, it is quite a tricky question in that you're hoping that you get a different reaction off the fact that you're putting your ethnicity on it. The fact that obviously there's loads of companies that are now aware, God knows why now is the case, but they're now aware that it is important to have diversity within their organization, that you think that put it down, I'm going to have a better chance to be put in. but there's also platforms where they do require you to have your picture as well. I know my name is very English sounding, very. I know my parents are probably thinking of the future or whatnot. I don't know. My dad's from Barbados, and obviously it was as a colony. So back in the day, slave owner enslaved family members and gave them my surname, and that's how it kind of came about. And so obviously I can't really get rid of that. But when someone was to see my name of a white guy, most probably Benedict, maybe cousin or whatnot. No, but I'm kind of conflicted in doing that. I would want to, and it's easy to say, oh, my experience and my credit should speak for me, but that's not solely the case. When you look at sometimes who is recruiting, they kind of want to have people that they can relate to, similar to them, and that's kind of like an unconscious bias in regards to that. So I don't know if there's an answer to.
I think there isn't. I think the thing is, look, at this moment, I think, regardless of whatever the scenario is in the world, we've got to use everything to our advantage to get the job, the move up, the whatever it might be. And at the very moment, being BAME it's a good time, you know what I mean? Because everybody wants us and needs us to get their companies more diverse and inclusive. I think that's a good thing. And so if we do jump to the front of the queue because we are BAME, you know what? Grab it and go to the front of the queue, because I think it's a good thing, right?
Sure, any opportunity is a good opportunity.
But I wonder whether there's a subtler ways to do it. You know what I mean? In the sense, like when you do your covering letter, "Hi, I'm a Creative Access alumni," is a subtle way to say it without having to say it or put that on your CV. And I think maybe that's if you feel like you want to be able to sort of like leverage it a bit, but without being overt, that might be a way to do it. But I think it's a personal decision, and I think I'm not in a position to say which way I would do it or not, because I don't think I don't have that lived experience, because I'm always like they're always going to know from my name.
Yeah. I think that's kind of. I'm not going to lie. I was always kind of questioning whether that should be something I should put down just to give me an extra selling point in order to have an interview. Ultimately, you kind of just want to be sat in front of that person that could give you a role.
Yeah.
And then from that, they're gonna know that you're Black, Asian, Chinese, whatever. So ultimately, you kind of just got to do what you need to do, and it is a personal choice whether you want to do that. But I will definitely co-sign the whole being more. There's subtler ways of doing stuff like that. Mentioning kind of stuff that you're interested in and what you have passions in and what things that you've been involved in. I think that definitely would help. Yeah, definitely.
Great. We've got last question, and maybe your one top tip for people starting out in TV in general, says Josie. Bradley, do you want to go and kick off? Oh, do we do one last question?
One last question.
Yeah.
I can start with a top tip, and I think I'm gonna come with a question afterwards, because I like this tip of mine. I mentioned it before. It's just be resilient. It's such a broad term in regards to like what resilience means, but within this industry and what I found, and when I started to do it, I realized I was taken more seriously in regards to having an idea and being bullish in regards to what you're capable of, what you can achieve. And if you've got an idea, stand by it. Because as soon as you apologize for something, all confidence is kind of gone from the person that's kind of looking at you. So for an example, there was an idea that I seen online, and when I was at BBC Comedy, and I really enjoyed it. So I had approached the creator of it, the director and the writer, and I was just like, this is great, this needs to be on TV. Yada, yada. I was really junior in my role. I was the PMA, and I was only there for like 7 months. And I was like, look, I've got access to this person, that exec, that producer. I can get this scene. Let's kind of like work together and write up a treatment and whatnot, and get it presented. And I was so bullish in that. I approached so many different people, had different meetings and stuff like that. But unfortunately, that didn't, it wasn't for them, for those producers that were there, but then I took it to an independent company through a connection that I'd made while at BBC Comedy. And they said that there was something there and they were able to take it on and push it, and it was commissioned for BBC Three. And that was due to me championing this idea, and that kind of, I created that opportunity for that person. And that's when I knew, do you know what? I don't need to apologize. Like my opinions do count, and I've got a vision and I can see stuff. And I think like that's something that's why we are on TV, because we can see things that we want other people to see and enjoy. And that's why I now continue just to be the person to always talk, be the person, you know, to take bullets sometimes, saying stuff wrong and being sometimes being wrong, sometimes being right. But I'm always the person I never ever sit back. And I know some people, that's a characteristic of an individual, but you've just got to find a way to have your voice always heard, whether that's in your writing or whether that's how you write or how you speak. I think that's what we need to remember, and just to keep on pushing, and don't take no. No is never a door to a building closed. It's just one avenue to that building. So you could go through the window. Do you know what I mean? There's always ways of getting stuff done. And if you just keep going, people are going to see that passion. And those in power, eventually you'll be that one in power. But those in power then will see, okay, this person's got a lot of conviction for this. Let's give it a go, because they're not going to leave us alone. And I feel like that's the way it is. And I'm pretty sure, Sat, you having people bombard you left, right, and centre every day can get annoying, but you kind of will see the other side of it. Like they've got that passion for it.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with what you're saying. I think, you know, you gotta be ready to be knocked down and then get yourself back up. You know what I mean? Every day. I have to do the same thing, you know, because I take the ideas that get pitched to me and the ones I love, and I go to my boss and she goes, no, terrible, no, terrible, no. And I go, oh, fuck, I've done a really bad job today. So, you know, I think resilience is a really important thing. It is exhausting being resilient though. And so what I will say is, you know, really, don't give up, you know, work hard and be honest in your intention and what you want to say. You know what I mean? Because I think quite often we just follow the crowd and we'll say it because of whatever, but just you know, go for it. It is a really rich and rewarding industry. And once you find your voice and how you are able to talk to people, how you're able to communicate your ideas, and, you know, your voice to be able to communicate, tell the world who you are, I think it's really brilliant. And there will be moments of doubt, there will be moments of questions, and those are not always bad things, because they will keep you balanced in your world. And I think that is a good thing. But you know what? Go out there and do it. Just go out there and do it, honestly.
It's true. I think with Corona coming about, I feel like everyone has to be like, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. You know what I mean? So I feel like we just...
Woo-hoo! And it's 5 o'clock now and I'm ready for a margarita. This is my last meeting. I'm like, now.
All right, listen, guys, thank you so much. I'm sorry to those of you we haven't been able to answer all your questions. I know we could have kept going for ages, but that was totally brilliant, Bradley and Sat. Really, I did laugh my way and felt very inspired by both of you. So really, really appreciate your time. I'm very glad you were able to join us despite the Wi-Fi problems, Bradley.
Oh, God, don't.
That's just the state of our lives these days. So next time we see you, Sat, maybe your moustache will be even longer and even more.
I think it's a nice level now. I'm going to try and I don't know if this thing stays open, because I can try and type answers to these questions. I don't know quite how to do it and how long this question and answer thing stays open. Well,
I think I will send you the questions afterwards and we can send them around to everybody afterwards.
Why don't you do that? Would you mind doing that? And I promise I'll type up little answers to everything for all those questions, and then you can circulate. Is that all right?
Same here, Josie. I mean, if anyone wants to hear what I've got to say, I'm all...
Definitely. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you,
Josie.
I'm going to close the session now, but I will be in touch, and lovely to see everyone. Thank you for joining us.
See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later.